Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Dharmic Business School webcast. I'm Jai Dave.
Joshua.
Joshua's here, and this is today 8 elements of Dharmic business magnetism, and we're super happy that you chose to join us and spend your time with us today. We'll do our very, very best to make it worth your while. This is a subject that we really actually do enjoy teaching quite a bit, but something that we've been a little bit reluctant to teach for also some years, because over the years, as you know, people who know us have watched what we've been doing, you know, over the last decade or so. A lot of people have asked us to do something like this, to do a business training in the style of business and the style of marketing and how we've kind of grown our companies, and we didn't for a long time feel 100% like we wanted to do that. Did we want to like venture into that like business world? And over time though, we realized that, you know, people really need this stuff, and there's a lot of people out there, and you all representing a lot of people who are out there that have already existing businesses, or you have a great vision, or you'd like to start a business, and you have really important work that you're doing. And I think probably the main reason we ended up deciding to do this eventually, and actually creating Dharmic Business School, which we'll tell you about today, and then creating like this webcast, and I know a lot of you have done the free workshop series that we've just released, is that we saw so many people, so many folks who are friends of ours or they're students who have really amazing work that they're doing in the world, or amazing offerings, services, and products, but really struggling to actually create a great business around it and actually generate enough energy within that business and enough revenue within that business to be able to focus on it as their livelihood. And instead of being able to focus on what is clearly the thing that they're here to do, and that's really what Dharma is, and that's why we call it Dharmic Business School. When they're really able to focus on what they're truly wired for, and what they're really, at least one of the main things that they're here to do on the planet, they're unable to devote the majority of their time to that because they have to have a job to make ends meet. And so that's painful for us to experience and to watch. And then we've also gone through our own pain around all of that, and went through the process of really over, you know, the last 20 years not knowing how to do any of this and figuring it out step by step, having tremendous success at times, and then also having some, you know, painful failures at times, and then learning from that. And we always wished there was business teaching that was like what I feel like we've created with Dharmic Business School. We often had to go through business trainings where we felt like we had to sift through a lot of mud and sift through a lot of things that really didn't resonate with us as human beings to get to the nutrient. And we knew there was nutrient there. So what we've wanted to do with Dharmic Business School is to take what we felt was the real nutrients that we've learned, and then blended that with also the deeper yogic spiritual teaching, because we come from yogic lineages that are not renunciate lineages, ascetic lineages where you're living in caves or monastery, but they're householder paths. And so that's a very wonderful lifestyle where your primary pursuit is consciousness, is the cultivation of real genuine love, and awakening, but you're not away from the world. You likely have family, you may have a wife or a husband, you very well may have children, and you most likely have a job or a business. And those things are not in paradox or in opposition, or they're not distractions to the spiritual pursuit. In fact, they're actually catalysts within the spiritual lifestyle. And that's how we've always approached our business world, our business life, our working life. And it's actually a beautiful, joyful, fulfilling, sometimes, of course, like everything that's fulfilling, very challenging path. And we want to share that with you, not just the bigger philosophy around it, but also all right, how you actually do it. How do you generate magnetism for the business so that it's successful? And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, we called it Dharmic Business School really around the concept of Dharma and around Dharma, which means purpose. It means your purpose, what you're here to do, fulfilling your Dharma and fulfilling your purpose. And here in the world we live in today, in the modern world, we fulfill our sense of purpose largely through business. And it's a really efficient way to do it, because not only are you doing what you're here to do, but you're also generating the financial resources that you need to live your householder life and to take care of your loved ones and to work towards your future. And in that way, the householder path of yoga that Jayadev's referring to and your Dharma, your purpose, go hand in hand. And it ends up being a win-win, because we only have so much time in the day. And meditating all day is a beautiful thing when you can do it, and doing yoga all day, however, it's very impractical. And it's great to be able to fuse together your spiritual world with your purpose, with something grounded and practical like your livelihood.
Because then, in a sense, you do end up doing real yoga all day, because real yoga isn't yoga exercises called asana practice. That's one little aspect of yoga. Real yoga is the awakening and the experience of what you really are, and having that experience of the deeper nature within yourself. And so from that sense, even though sometimes it may not feel like it, this does end up being a catalyst for that. And so you kind of are, and it's not easy, but you kind of are practicing yoga all day. And it's important, in my opinion, to contextualize it like that. Otherwise, it sometimes will feel too difficult, and you'll feel like this is just too much for me. And so, like, one of the reasons I think that a lot of people don't get started or don't succeed in their business is, number one, know-how. Just how do you actually, all right, once you have this idea for a business, or even have a business, how do you actually create magnetism for it so it draws energy in the form of people, customers, into your business, which then builds the vitality of your business. And vitality, in part, not exclusively, but in part, is measured in a business in terms of revenue and profit. That's not the only measurement that we have in terms of how we look at in Dharmic business. Culture is part of it, the character is part of it, but a big part of it, of course, if you don't have profit in your business, the business can't keep going. And so know-how is part of it, but then the other thing that is often hanging out in the unconscious or the subconscious of a person, but also in, I think, the business itself, because this is a really important point that we've discovered and really over and over again verified through our experience, that the business itself is an organism, and the business itself has its own sense of psyche. And so there's like the person who maybe created the business, the people that work in the business, they all have their own psyche, their own subconscious, but then the business itself somehow seems to have its own life force, its own psyche in a certain way. And so there's the fear of maybe perhaps the most basic level is fear of failure, but it's also a fear of vulnerability. And what will, in order for us even to like put this stuff out there, is something we're not typically used to doing. We have to actually be rather vulnerable with ourselves and like, all right, here we go, because we know we deeply resonate and practice what we're talking about here, and it works. But even still, to put it out there and then to put it out on social media, and then people, and anytime you put anything out on social media, you have haters that'll come at you. And even if you got 10,000 people that love it, and you got like 100 haters, the mind will often easily focus on the 100 haters instead of the 10,000 folks that love it. And so anytime you're putting like something that is your creation out, it's going to create a certain fear. And that's a natural thing that comes up. And it needs to be understood that it's natural. And that, okay, that's a part of this. And either that fear is going to freeze me and I'm not going to actually take the leap and do it, or I'm going to be able to feel fear around it, and then I'm going to do it anyways. To put yourself out there, or to put your product or your art out there and your services out there, it takes some sense of courageousness.
And that's why it's so helpful to have a guide in anything that we're doing in life. I've learned over time that when I feel those feelings with anything new, that fear comes, or that apprehension, or I feel myself shying away, I've learned to train myself over time that that's actually a step on the path to success, and that I'm actually about to have a breakthrough. And that when that comes up, that's that subconscious fear and pattern trying one more time to have its word, and the more you can step back and just say, oh, hey, great. Thanks for reaffirming that I'm well on the way and almost there, actually.
Yeah, and that's already, let's get right actually into the 8 steps, or we call it 8 steps of 8 elements of Dharmic business magnetism, because we've already kind of gotten into the second and third, but we'll start with numero uno. And element 1 is what we call concentrating life force. And in this case, you're concentrating. Now, if you're a single person, if you're a business of one person, and many of us are, we created our business, our Life Force Academy, and all the courses and the teaching and the traveling we have around it. At first, it was just, me and a laptop, and then Josh and me and 2 laptops, and now, we have a whole team. We're still relatively a small business, but compared to what we used to be, it's a pretty substantial operation. But many of us, we're just starting out. We're not starting like a lot of startups where you have like investment capital and all this. Nah, what we want to encourage you all to do is to just go and to just do something. And we created that Dharmic Business School so that even if you have a job right now and you're not in a place where you can just focus on a business, that you can actually, if you could even carve out a few hours per week on the weekend to where you're going to just focus on it, you could actually start to make progress. And then if you wanted to later on, you could build that thing where you could just focus on your business, and you can start to generate enough energy and revenue through it to where you would be able to just focus on your business. But you need a business system, and you need to understand how to make it work and how to do it and how to consistently generate energy into the business in forms of people, in forms of money, and so forth. So element 1 is concentrating life force, and what that means is somehow or another over time, you need to focus on one thing. And sometimes you hear like multiple streams of income and that type of thing. Well, that's all great maybe down the road if you have multiple streams of passive income, meaning you have some investments and things like that are generating energy for you, generating money and revenue for you and your family and your dharma. so that you can really focus on what you're here to do. We're not in this thing for like, let's generate a ton of money so that we can go hang out on tropical beaches year round. I would not be happy at all hanging out on tropical beaches year round. Now, periodically, sure, sign me up. Every once in a while to like reboot, have a good time, spend time with the family. Doesn't need to be a tropical beach. It could be at the river, 5 miles from my house, as long as I have some of that time. That's important. But what we're in this to do is to generate energy and resources so that we can all focus on what we're here to do, because it's my experience that that's what gives fulfillment, not exotic vacations. If those happen, well, beautiful, fine. But what we're more interested in is serving folks, creating transformation in people's lives. And then you'll see the transformation in your own life, and that's what brings fulfillment. If you have multiple streams of income and it's not passive income, that's just going to cause a tremendous amount of stress and a tremendous amount of what we'd call in Ayurveda vata vitiation, meaning way too much going on at the same time, overwhelm, worry, anxiety, and so forth. So focusing on whatever seems like to be the most important thing at this time.
And that's a work in progress, because sometimes there's a period of life perhaps where you have to have a few things going on in order to make ends meet. And in the journey of your own success, there may be a period of time where you have 3 or 4 things, but and this is my personal experience, as you can narrow it down and hone it in and offload some of those responsibilities and focus that energy more and more in one direction, it's amazing how the amplification of your income, your productivity, your effectiveness, and then because you're being more efficient, your free time, like everything comes into more balance the more you're able to focus that one direction.
Yeah, my experience is also the same in that it took me, from the time I really understood this principle, keep all your horses facing in one direction, focus on one way to look at it, or they would say in the kind of like classical business world, one way to focus on it is whatever's making you the most money right now. But for some of us, that's not always the case, because sometimes we have a job that's making us the most money, but it's not fulfilling us on deeper levels. And so that may or may not be true for you or myself, whatever's making the most money right now, but it may be true whatever has the most momentum, whatever you have the most energy for. And so, at a certain point, while understanding this principle, I still had multiple things going on, and like one hand here and one hand here, and I was into all of them. And it took me probably, 5 years of consciously getting to where I was focusing on just teaching. It took me a long time. I know it took you a long time to get to where you're just focused on what you want to be focused on. So while we say, all right, concentrating the life force, that doesn't mean that it's going to be easy or it's going to be quick. But understanding the principle is important, and then slowly start to get to where you're focused on one main thing. Doesn't mean that you don't do other things, obviously. You do what you want to do. But in terms of generating magnetic energy, you have to concentrate, because otherwise your life force as a human being is going to be too dilute. And in order to generate magnetism in your life, you have to concentrate it. And just like in a human body, in a human organism, if you have like some of your energies going out this way, some of your energies going out that way, then you're going to be unable to generate enough auric strength for whatever it is that you're doing in your life to penetrate into the world and then to be successful. And your business is the same way. If it's trying to do some of this, you're trying to serve these folks over here, you're trying to serve these folks over there, you're trying to do too many things, there's a lack of focus, therefore there's a lack of concentration of energy. And when there's a lack of concentration of energy, then that life force in the business or the life force in your life, and sometimes those are the same thing, becomes dilute, and therefore you don't have enough sheer power in order for whatever it is that you're doing to penetrate into the world and for your messaging to be effective. And that's what will take us into the elements that we're going to get to here in a minute. And so element number 2, and all these build on each other, element 2 is courage. And we kind of already alluded to that a little bit, because certainly at the beginning, but then all along the way, like even sitting down before filming our webcast with you today, you know, I had to exercise a little bit of courage. Not as much as I had to exercise maybe the first time I ever tried something like this or got in front of a camera, but still, even today, I noticed my mind was making up reasons why we could maybe do this another time, you know? And it was looking, I noticed, not me, but I noticed my mind looking for exit routes, even before just sitting down to do this. As recently as like an hour ago, my mind was looking for exit route. And I do this like, this type of thing every week, multiple times per week, and still. So it's noticing the mind and not being so caught up in your own mind and emotions that you mistake it to be substantive.
And knowing yourself enough to, when those things come up, have the training to just say, oh, there's that thing again, and now I'm human and this happens. But then keeping going, and that's where the courage comes in. Is, you know, courage is a heart-based energy, the courage of a lion, the courage of the heart, and heart energy is actually among the strongest energies in the universe. It's stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, worry, all of those things. And heart energy and courage is required. Think of it like you're building a bridge for your business, and you're on one side of this canyon. And on the other side of the canyon is your business success, and you're building a bridge across this canyon. And it's real common that we'll get our bridge about halfway built and decide to turn back. You know, you get halfway out there on that thing and it's like, oh, it's still real far to the other side. I don't know if this is gonna work, yada, yada, yada. And before you know it, you're turning back, going back where you came from. And that's the moment where the courage comes in, where you need to stop, you need to say, okay, and you need to push through. And that's something that I've experienced as well recently, building out this course, right? Is you get to these points where you're up against new elements of teaching or new elements of presenting something. And sure enough, just that feeling of, oh, this is a new territory. That's just the mind. Just coming in to warn you that, hey, we've never been here before. We're not sure what to do here right now. And that's where you apply that courage and you just keep on going. Say, all right, take a breath, recommit yourself to the why, the dharma, the purpose of why. Recommit yourself to that direction that you're going, that single direction, and then use that courage to keep building the bridge. You're already halfway there. Yeah,
that's why we put a lot of emphasis in general as well as in Dharmic Business School. And in the Dharmic Business School experience with it, we have specific meditation practices that help you not only to cultivate this, but to maintain connectivity to what it is that you're doing and to increase the flow of prosperity. Because without, you know, some type of that meditative practice that you're doing, I know I wouldn't be successful like I currently am. And I always feel like I can be much more successful, and success in not just measured in terms of, and I'm going to keep emphasizing that because I know in a lot of business world stuff, success is measured by the amount of money you have. That's not how we measure success. We measure success by perhaps partly in terms of the amount of vitality that our business organisms have, which has to do largely with money, but not exclusively, as I mentioned. But also is based on to what degree are we serving folks and helping people alleviate pain and suffering in their lives. And that doesn't matter if you're like a yoga teacher or you're, you know, a CPA and an accountant. Like, all businesses are about helping folks and about helping to serve a transformation in people's lives. And so without meditation practice, there's just so many things that will arise in the subconscious that are obstructions to your success and your prosperity. And so we made sure that in Dharmic Business School that we made one of the main 3 pillars of the Dharmic Business School is the meditation practices, but specifically prosperity meditation practices. And so that you have the ability to discern, all right, what is it just being my negative mind being overactive that is causing a feeling of fear? And then for me to have the meditative capacity, not in meditation practice, but in any moment in my life, especially when I'm doing something in a business activity where I can discern, all right, this is just my mind, this is just a negative emotion, and that it's not going to be useful to me to allow it to stop me. And it's like, okay, I feel that wave of fear. It's real in the sense that it's a wave of energy, but it's not real in the sense that it's not a sign that there's something wrong with me. It's not a sign that I shouldn't be doing this. And a lot of people get stuck there. And so courage isn't something that we necessarily already have fully, but it's something that we need to cultivate and continue to cultivate on a regular basis. And that it's something that one has to practice. Courage isn't something that's just either there or not there. Courage is a practice. So you have to practice courageousness. And you are able to practice courageousness because you have conviction. And conviction is the number 3, element number 3 of Dharmic business magnetism. Element number 1, concentrating life force. Element number 2 is courageousness, practicing courage. Element number 3 is conviction, because you have conviction in what it is that you do. You have conviction in the deeper. You may not feel that conviction at the moment. You may feel fear. You may feel even despair. You may feel indifference at time. And we just want to be real about this, because if we're not real, because these are real things that everyone experiences. You may not see that like in videos that folks are posting, that we're posting, but all human beings will sometimes feel all these span of emotions, of indifference, of fear, of worry, of doubt. And if we don't know that that's normal, that that's par for the course, then what we end up doing is thinking there's something wrong with me, or this isn't real, I'm not doing really what I should be doing because I'm feeling indifferent, or I'm feeling doubt. No, doubt, indifferent, all that's par for the course. You have to know that with conviction that what you're doing is important. And you know that already because you have to revisit and anchor back into the moments when you had the clear vision to start this in the first place. And so whatever it is that you're going to do, whatever your business is, you need conviction in it. Because if you don't have a significant amount of conviction in what you're doing, and you know, even though you got haters over here that are telling you, ooh, why aren't you doing this? And and they come on here and troll you on social media, and they have all their points of view. Nah. You have to have conviction that what you're doing is crucial and important. And you have to have strong enough conviction and staying connected to your conviction so that you'll keep going even when adversity hits, because adversity will hit. And you need adversity because you never develop enough magnetism unless there's appropriate tension. And tension will always arrive, whether it's in a relationship, a love relationship, or whether it's in your relationship to a business, or your relationships with your coworkers at your business, or your business partners. There's always there always in life, it's natural, it's the laws of nature. Tension, release. Tension, release. Tension, release. And so once again, if we understand and view tension as innately negative, or as innately something that's a bad or an obstruction, then it will act as that, and it will cause you to snap, or it'll cause you to stop. Tension, you need tension in order to generate magnetism. Just like a bow and arrow, you pull that thing back and go, and it propels you forward. And if you can learn to use tension like that, which is what we'd like to help you learn how to do, it's a big part of Dharmic business work. If you can learn how to use tension like that instead of it continually causing excessive stress, causing you to freeze, causing you to actually not finally launch that business that you've been thinking of, or finally take your business to a whole new level where you can serve a lot more people. Tension is an asset for that, but far too often we're contextualizing it as purely a liability. It can be a liability, or it can be an asset, and you are the one who will decide whether it acts as an asset or a liability.
And that's the truth about these laws of life, like tension or stress or gravity for that matter. These things are here, and it's really just up to how we decide to interact with it and how we decide to show up and handle these things. You know, if it was all beaches and ice cream, well, then that would be boring. You know, we're here to do great things and to change and transform the energy that's on the planet right now. And you don't have to look far to see that there's a huge amount of energy to transform. And you don't have to look far in yourself to find that sense of, why am I really here? You know, why did I come here? And maybe that feels vague to you at this point in your journey, and maybe you're crystal clear about your why, your big why that you come back to and that you reference back to when you're pulling out your courage and when you're pulling out your conviction and you're remembering, why am I even doing this in the first place? Well, you're doing it because it's what you're made to do, and it's what you're here to do, and it's what the world needs right now. And it's the best time ever to step on up and get it done.
And I want to speak to that for a moment, is that sometimes some people, some of us, we have a very clear sense of, yeah, this is what I'm here to do. But a lot of us don't. But we do have an inspiring idea for a business. And I always tell folks when teaching, and this is part of the reason I'm comfortable teaching in this context. I don't feel like I'm teaching something different, even when I'm normally not teaching within the business context, is teaching about human potentiality. And so when you can't go find a purpose. You are built, as Josh is saying, you're wired for whatever it is that you're here to do. My teacher said, if you have a mind, you have a mission. And we made that the staple of our Life Force Academy, because the essence of what our Life Force Academy is not the yoga exercises, but it's that if you and I are going to have fulfillment in our lives, if we're going to truly have a sustainable style of happiness, we have to have connectivity to a sense of purpose. But that doesn't mean that you necessarily have crystal clarity on, like, all right, this is my purpose, this is my mission. Like, I'm a teacher, or I'm a musician, or I'm an architect, or I'm obviously, you know, those are vehicles. They're not necessarily the purpose itself. So if you're an accountant, it's not necessarily like, oh, I'm made to be an accountant, but you may be wired in such a way that you are able to serve people very powerfully through that medium, through that vehicle. Whereas I may be able to serve people through the vehicle of teaching, through my wife may be able to serve people through the vehicle of music. Somebody may be able to serve people by building beautiful homes. So like one person may, create houses, build houses. Well, this other person, he creates homes that people raise their families in. They're both doing the same thing, but it's a different context, you see? So that's why it's always, I don't want us to get caught up too much in that where you may hear us talking about that and think that we mean, that, all right, the actual vehicle is the purpose. And that's where it comes back to just do whatever feels most, you're most passionate about right now, and do it well. And even if you just have a job and you're not able to have a business right now, let's do that job in a way to where, how can I serve deeper? How can I serve? How can I serve? How can I do this with more artistry? How can I do this with more intelligence? And then that's what opens the gateways for more opportunities. Not like, oh, I don't like this so much, I'm not doing that. But it's like, how do I serve better? And whatever it is that I have the wherewithal to do at this moment, that will open up the gateways. In my experience, it's not like trying to go find something else out there that you don't currently have, but it's what is right in front of you and how can you serve through that right now, and how can you apply your intelligence and apply your artistry and apply your love through whatever is in front of you right now. In my experience, it's that opens the gateways of opportunity and prosperity. If somebody else is where you'd like to be, serve that person. That will open the gateways of prosperity. Help them do more. Help them help people more. And that will open gateways for you. Whereas there's a lot of folks out there that they'll get, bitter or jealous or envious about people that are in positions that they'd like to be. And then they operate through jealousy, or they operate through resentment, and that's a very dense, powerful obstruction to prosperity. So and that may be you. You may have, and if you be honest with yourself, there may be some folks out there taking this class right now. Like, to be honest, that is me. And then I want to encourage you to be humble about that if that's the case, because that could be like an amazing little switch of the dial to where it's like, I have been doing that, and sometimes it's difficult for us to like let our egos like relax a little and be able to say, yeah, I've kind of, operating through some subconscious jealousy. That's no big deal. It's only a big deal if we allow it to persist. And so that's where we get to with all of this, is a concentrating life force. That takes a little time. Exercising courage is an ongoing practice. Staying connected to your conviction is an ongoing practice. And that's where we go deep into Dharmic Business School. How do you stay connected to the bigger why, the bigger reasons you're doing this? Using the meditation practices, keeping the mind clear, keeping the life force in the body strong. Okay, and then we'll get to number 4, and this is where it starts to pivot from the inner game to working more into the outer game. So the first 3 are largely working with your psychology, but and we always have to start there, because the outer game rests on the foundation of the inner game. Because if you don't have that psychology, and some people may be sitting there thinking, all right, get to where you teach me how to do marketing and that kind of stuff. It don't matter if we teach you how to do marketing if the subconscious is still overpowering the deeper flow of prosperity in your life. And so when we pivot over to element number 4, element 4 is called resonance. So resonance, what that refers to is now when taking your product or service or whatever it is that your business is, and once again, it doesn't matter if have this more whatever would be cliche spiritual business like a yoga teacher. Yoga teacher is not any more spiritual than a contractor. It's not what the person's doing, it's the person who's doing it. And I know plenty of people in what may seem like on the surface as more mundane businesses. They're contractors, or they're accountants, or anything that I would consider they're much more in the flow of Dharma than some yoga teachers that I know. So I wouldn't get caught up on like what the business exterior is. It's like, who is doing the business and how are they operating and what is the pivot?
And what's the energy at the core of it? What's the core essence? And again, that's service. You know, that any business of any kind is here to solve a problem for somebody else. Someone else has a problem and you have a solution. You're here to serve that solution. Your business is here as a service vehicle. Service is one of the 8 limbs of yoga. Dharma, yoga, service, business, and that brings it around to who you're speaking to and how you're speaking to them. And in this next pillar of magnetism,
resonance is actually, now that you have a business, you have your product or you have your service, whatever it is that your thing is, now it's actually discovering and figuring out who are the people specifically that you are going to serve. And so that means what is the type of psychology of those people. This would be the demographics and the psychographics of the person. Typically, what age group is it? It may be what ethnicity is it. It may be, but not necessarily, but sometimes it is. It may be what area of the world do they live in. It will be, those are things that may or may not be relevant. What will definitely be relevant are what are their interests? What are the people that you are serving? What are their pains in their life? And what are their aspirations in their life, their gains? So who are they? What do they need? How do you find them? What do they resonate with? And that's what you have to discover, number one, in order to actually do successful marketing, to create an actual successful magnetism in your business. People who try to speak to everyone will speak to no one. So you're not here to please everyone. And often one of the pitfalls we fall into is trying to please everyone. You can't please everyone. You have to be able to speak to specific people. And if you don't speak to specific people, you're going to not your message of what you're saying isn't going to penetrate. And so that's element number 5, is vibrate your message. And so number 4 and 5 go together. Resonance, it's discovering the people who are going to resonate with whatever it is that you're offering. And then number 5 is then being able to speak to those people in a way that they're going to be able to hear it. And we're going to teach you how to do that. We'll teach you a little bit right now, but we teach you in tremendous depth in Dharmic Business School. And so starting with resonance, we put a great amount of intention in any business into first knowing, okay, in the traditional business world, they would call this your target market. Understanding who it is that is going to be most likely to resonate with your offerings and then be a customer of your business. And you have to first discover that. And sometimes that's difficult at first, but if, for instance, you're in, say, like our business, the yoga business, it's not difficult at all, because there's a whole bunch of other yoga businesses out there that are already doing that and already speaking to that. However, there's something that it becomes a bit of a conundrum, and it's a conundrum for us at times, and we're always wrestling with it. Because, like, for instance, in the yoga business, if you were to like consult like a marketing executive, they would tell you, well, in the yoga business, you want to be serving, you want to market to women primarily. You want them to be affluent, and they're going to be white. Well, for us, that's a little bit problematic because we don't want to only serve white, affluent women. We want to be inclusive of them, but we don't want to be focused exclusively on them. So from an old school traditional marketing context, you would not only would you focus on them primarily, you'd focus on them exclusively. Because the data will show that those are the types of people that are going to respond to your messaging and your offering most easily. It's going to be more difficult to serve, lower income people of color, but there's a bit of a moral problem there, isn't there, to only focus on. But now, so here comes the kind of collision of business and service sometime. So you have to figure that out. All right, how am I going to do this? First, you have to make sure you make enough money to actually stay afloat. And so finding the balance between, all right, these are going to be the easiest people to serve. They're gonna respond to my offer the most quickly. But here's also a group of people who are still likely going to respond to our stuff, but they don't have as much money, and it may cost us a lot more money to serve them. So it's finding that balance in there. What we are not going to do, for instance, is say something like this. Well, also far right-wing conservative folks, they need yoga the most. And so now let's target right-wing conservative folks, me with the beard and the turban. That's not going to work at all. So in my opinion, that would be poor use of energy. So even though you want to serve, and Josh and I, we wrestle with this a lot, how to do this, whether you're doing it on online advertising or otherwise, how do you actually reach people that will resonate with you in their underserved communities? And so what I would recommend is actually you start with the majority of your efforts going to whatever the market is that you're going to be able to first generate revenue with, but have a plan and a system in place to where then a certain proportion of your resources goes to serving underserved communities, because otherwise it becomes just a hamster wheel of a bunch of, like in our case, white people, rich people. And then especially when you're dealing with something like yoga and meditation, well, for us that feels off. But this is a unique, in this situation, to our business, but then let's look at it from the context of your business. So how do you, because we do currently live in a capitalistic society, so how are you using a certain percentage of your business resources to then actually help folks who may not in other circumstances, in other situations, have access to the type of services that you offer? For us, that's a crucial ingredient to Dharmic business.
And in that way, you can empower your best customers to help you with the mission of your business, because through the pool of people who are most likely to go for your product or your service and most likely to support the cash flow needs of your business, they're helping you reach the people who otherwise may not be able to reach what you have to offer. And one of my favorite exercises that I do all the time when we're setting up new products, new classes, new advertising, and it really goes well with these number 4 and 5 elements, is I think of, okay, if all of these folks were at a dinner party, if 100 of my best customers were at a dinner party together and they didn't know I was there, I was just disguised as a waiter or something, and they didn't know I was there, but I got to listen to their conversations and I got to hear their points of view. I got to hear what else they were talking about. all that these people had in common was that they were all clients of my business. But what they're talking about at the dinner party is all the other areas of their life and their lifestyle and their needs and their children's needs and the conversations they're having with their partners at home and all those other things that are lifestyle oriented and that really help you get inside the mind of your ideal customer and get to know them on a personal level. Because when you can get to know them on that personal level, you can speak to them on a more personal level. You can actually speak to their real needs. They don't just need their lawn cut once a week. They need their Saturday freed up to hang out with their children and not have to deal with the lawn. It's the deeper why of why people really need what you have to offer. And when you can get to know that and you can speak to that, and I even visualize these people at this outdoor dinner party and what are they drinking? Is it superfood smoothie in there? Is it
organic
champagne?
Beer, yeah. Budweiser.
And what are they wearing and what are they, commenting on each other's clothes and what are those clothes? Really get into the details of it, because then you get into the essence of the lifestyle of your ideal customer, the lifestyle of that person.
And that's what people refer to as an avatar. Obviously in the yoga world, we use that term in a very different context, but they say that. So it's like you're not thinking of, I really like that exercise, because then you actually can focus in on one person and say all right, so who is the ideal person? And you have to, and it is important really, and I want to emphasize this for business success, to know who is the person that is going to be most efficient in terms of responding to what it is that you do. And you need to start there and not be overly idealistic. This is my encouragement, advice. It's not be overly idealistic at first about who you want to serve versus who is going to respond the easiest and the most efficiently to what. Because if they're going to respond the easiest, then it's going to cost you less money to serve them. Therefore, your business has got to have a certain amount of vitality. A lot of people get overly idealistic at first and not able to generate enough energy system in the organism of the business for it to actually get enough vitality to where it eventually can serve a greater diversity. But at the starting point, you need to stay within your natural ecosystem, so to speak. And so then you're looking, all right, say you come to the conclusion, and we'll show you how to do this a lot in the course, is how do you actually define who is the ideal person? And then all right, is it a 35-year-old woman? Where, what types of things does she do? What types of shows might she watch? What types of places might she shop? What types of foods does she eat? All that stuff. What types of problems does she have in her life? What are her aspirations? And what are her pains? And that's what Josh is saying, instead of here is probably the number one mistake that I see 99% of businesses making when trying to vibrate their messaging, when trying to make a message to sell their product or sell their services to people. They talk about themselves. They talk about themselves or they talk about the product. I'm a yoga teacher of 20 years. I'm this certified that. I'm certified that. I've done this. I've done that. That's not what people want to hear, and that's not what's going to motivate people to do your thing. We have our accounting services are, the best in the county. We have the greatest whatever, etc. They're talking about me. Our restaurant serves, the finest cuisine, the best ingredients. All that stuff is important. I'm not saying you don't mention that, but that's not the heart of a well-crafted, penetrating message that is going to vibrate and resonate with your audience. What resonates is what he's saying. If there's landscaping business, you have the ones that we got the best people, we do the best job, you can trust us, versus we want to give you more time with your family. on a Saturday afternoon. That hit the heart center of the pain point that a father or a mother or a person has. That's why I have guys who come over to my house and do landscaping. I would actually enjoy doing the landscaping myself. I just don't have the time, and spending the time I do have with family is far more important to me than spending time working out on the yard or whatever it is. So you have to discover what is the pain and what is the gain of your people, of your first, who are the folks who are going to resonate most with you, and then how do you speak to them? They're going to be motivated by pain and gain. When you can get to not just the most, what would you call, obvious pain. Well, the obvious pain is your yard looks like crap.
The ultimate pain.
The heart, the deeper underlying pain of the heart has to do with a family or the contractor, that the pain of or the aspiration, sometimes they're tied together, of wanting a cozy home to raise your family in, to where you feel you have, shelter from the outer elements, shelter from the outside world, and where you can actually experience love together. That's deeper, and that's when you can start actually messaging around your business in that fashion, you're going to start to get results.
In the example of the accountant too, it's people need an accountant to help you save money on your taxes, right? Save money on your taxes, put more into savings for your future. If it's
I told, we have on our team, I don't know if she wants her name mentioned or not, so I won't, but I told her, because I'm not very good with accounting or numbers or anything, or even like opening the mail, and she's like my godsend. Like, she alleviates so much pain for me because she takes care of the numbers of our business. And if I don't have somebody taking care of the numbers, and as well as you do, is just, that alleviates more pain for me than almost anything else. And so and she's good at it. She's
she loves it.
She loves it, and she's like, "Oh, can I do that? Really?" And I'm like, "Sure," and because I can't imagine loving it, But
And that's the beautiful thing about people and about what people are called to do. And there's a spot in our society for everybody, and sometimes I think, do we love to do these things, or is it a bigger energy that's whispering it in our ear because it's actually a need? There's a need amongst the people. Someone needs to fill that need. Who's it going to be? And a little sprinkle of inspiration comes down, and next thing you know, somebody loves the numbers and wants to get in there and clean up the data. And, that's diversity right there.
And this flows perfectly into element number 6, which is called serving the transformation. Serving the transformation is kind of what 4, 5, and 6 all go together. Because again, if you take one thing out of this webcast, our goal for this is, to give you some of these nuggets like this in this webcast, but also to inspire you to join Dharmic Business School. But if you only did this webcast and you only took one thing out of it, I think it might be this, is that your business isn't about you, and your messaging of the business shouldn't be about you, and it shouldn't be primarily about the product. Yeah, they need to know the details. They do need to know that the food is organic. That's important. They do need to know all the different, specialties of the jewelry that you sell. Or the widget that you created. But that's not why people buy stuff. People buy stuff because of the transformation that it delivers into their lives. And that may be in what seemingly small and mundane ways, or very big and spiritual ways, depending on what it is that you do. And so your job is to serve the transformation of the people who resonate with you. You're not trying to speak to everybody. If you have haters that are coming at you, that's a sign, that may be a sign at least, that you've done a good job with your messaging, because you're speaking, your words are penetrating, because this is a polarity planet, and if it's resonating powerfully with some people, it's going to strongly polarize other people. So that's why you have to have conviction and courage, because if you're doing your messaging well, you're likely going to generate polarization from folks that don't resonate with your stuff but come across it. And so please don't take people's trolling as a sign that you're not doing good work, because that's not necessarily and likely isn't the case. So the next part is always the messaging, how you talk about your business, how you talk about your product, how you talk about your service, always needs to be, its essence is the transformation that you're delivering into people's lives. And that comes by identifying who it is that you're serving, resonance, how to speak with them via pain and gain messaging, and then by focusing on the transformation that whatever you do delivers. Their life was like this before they met you or your business, and then what does their life look like after? And if you can start focusing on that, and that being a focus, and stop being so much about you'll start to get results.
And that amount of transformation is also called the value, or the perceived value of what your offer is bringing to the people. And oftentimes you can tie the perceived value to the monetary exchange. You have to put a price on your product or your service. What's it worth to you? What's it worth to me to have someone come and help me clean our family's home twice a month versus my wife and I do it? Well, it's actually priceless because of the amount of stress and tension that it removes from our relationship, the amount of extra hikes we get to go on the weekend because someone else who needs that money and who is coming to do their service with their green house cleaning business is coming in and taking away worlds of stress from my life personally. And so that perceived value that I have toward that service may be much higher than the actual service being performed. And because I perceive that value higher, I leave a big tip every time, or I make sure to really be supportive of that person in their endeavors, because I want to give and
tell
I
your
want to
friends.
support. Yeah, tell your friends, exactly. And that's one of the best and most affordable forms of marketing, is when you can win over a customer so much that they become your friend, they put you in their friend circle. Well, now they're going to share you with their other friends too. And that's one of the most important parts of when your message does penetrate, and when you really are speaking to the pain of your customer and you're delivering value to that pain, and you're creating a powerful transformation in them from where they are to where they want to be. You're building trust, and in building trust, you're earning a friendship, and that puts you in the shareable, the share-worthy category in their mind, so that when their friend needs that same thing, you're the first person that comes to mind.
Yeah, and these aren't it may seem rather simple, and that's because it is, but it's also very powerful. And by the way, this stuff is fun to do. It's really, this takes, what might used to be like a business headache, and it turns it into an art form, because good marketing is really about human psychology and understanding how to successfully and effectively communicate. And if you're doing that in the spirit of love and service, then it becomes an art form. And so your business should be not only a science, but an art form. And that's the Dharmic business system we put together. It is science in that it's a system. It shows you step by step how to do all of this, but it's also an art, because it's going to require your creativity, you carving out a few hours on a weekend to really all right, what is the deeper heart pain of the people I'm serving, and what are their aspirations? And then how do, through my messaging, and that can happen in the written word, on a website, in an email, in a video that you create with your iPhone. You don't need we have, really beautiful video work now, but when we first started, it was nothing. We weren't even doing videos at that time. And then when we first started doing videos, it was, it wasn't gorgeous, but it worked. And so your stuff, if you're just getting started, doesn't need to look like this. At all. You just need an iPhone or some little video thing. You need the ability to, write an email, to create a social media page and that type of stuff. And again, whether you're just starting out or whether you're already in motion and maybe you have a relatively successful business already, but this stuff is resonating with you, we designed Dharmic Business School in a way that no matter where you're at, you can use the system and put it in place, and it will launch you from where you're at, whether that's just not even started yet or you're already relatively successful. And so with all this stuff, that shift of perspective really makes a huge difference, and you'll see. Now, of course, you got to learn, all right, now how do I get that messaging to people? And we'll show you how to do that. And so that as Josh is inferring, it leads into element number 7, which is connectivity. And connectivity is that sharing element where now you've now created. You created a vibration and a magnetism through, connecting to people who resonate with your stuff in a meaningful way. And so it's much different than a normal business transaction when you connect with them in a meaningful way. Because even if they benefited from, say, your landscaping services, but your business doesn't contextualize it in that deeper, meaningful way, it's not going to have the same effect. When you connect and contextualize it via your messaging, your languaging, and it permeates every aspect of your business, your website, how you talk to people, when you interact with them, that creates a vibration. It creates a vibe, and that translates to their mind. That creates the perceived value Joshua was talking about, and that is what gets them to share. Word of mouth starts to happen. But not only do you just people organically telling folks about what you do, but like for instance in certain businesses where it's contextual, you actually create that connectivity, and you connect people who have been transformed by your work to other people who have been transformed by your work, and that creates a tribal type of community. So like in our case, our Life Force Academy, we have thousands of people all over the world, and we connect them in a group, and then we do live events where they all meet each other, and then that creates a snowball effect. And that connectivity of the community creates a type of greater energy that we call amplification, which is the 8th and final element of the Dharmic business magnetism, is amplification. So then once that connectivity is happening and people are sharing, now there's this bigger, deeper snowball effect of the work that you've done in the past that is now taken a momentum and is working for you without you doing it. And that's the deeper levels of Dharmic business magnetism, is that amplification element that happens. And all of this is happening, first of all, because you made sure you were clear-minded. You made sure you were taking care of your life force. You didn't allow fears and worries and the doubts that crept in to stop you, because you exercised courage via your conviction. You focused on a single pursuit as opposed to trying to do a whole bunch of things. You got your massage practice over here, and then you have your jewelry business over here, and then you also do some clothing stuff over here. And by the way, none of it's working that well. You enjoy all of it, but none of it's getting traction because you're trying to do all of it simultaneously. Focus on the one that has the most momentum now, or the one you love the most, whatever seems to make the most sense for you. And then now you're understanding, all right, who are the people that I want to specifically talk to? Then how do I understand their pains and what their aspirations are? Now and what is the transformation in their lives that I'm serving, and vibrate my messaging around that so that it penetrates. And then they're going to start connecting you to other people that also are going to resonate. And then you connect them all together, and then that's now starting to create a amplification effect, and that's very powerful magnetism. And that's the system. That's the magnetism system. That's not the entire Dharmic business school, but it's essentially hopefully something useful to you if you're not able to do the full Dharmic business school with us, and it's a peek inside the depth of the work that we're doing. But really, this is very much the tip of the iceberg, and we want to work with you to actually do this in your business. We want to teach you how to do all of this from the ground up, starting with the deeper psychology stuff, but then quickly moving into, all right, how do you create a business organism and how do you set it up so it's going to have good vitality? How do you actually then create a marketing system where we work with you on understanding who your collective is, who are the people that are going to be most interested in what you do, how do you find them, how do you identify who they are in the first place, then how do you find them, then how do you craft messaging that will speak directly to them, and then how do you create a type of funnel system that step by step know how to speak to them at step 1, and then once they go through step 1, how do you bring them into step 2, then how do you eventually give them the offer of what it is that you're doing. Most people just go right after the offer right away. Hey, buy what we're doing, but they never develop the relationship first. It's like, Joshua, how do you talk about it in terms of like you're going, instead of inviting somebody out to coffee. So how do you usually describe that analogy?
Well, I like to think of it like a new romantic relationship that is happening naturally. And the difference between the way that most people market and the way that most messages come across in businesses is like you're seeing someone that you're attracted to across the room and you're walking right up to them and saying, hey, want to get married? You want to come home with me to my place? And that's super, a person's put off by that. That's really not the
to say the least.
The way that you want to approach that. If you're being sophisticated and you're being mature and you're being authentic and real, you're going to make eye contact. And you may find yourself just naturally, your eyes are crossing paths with each other enough times that you stop and say, hey, I keep seeing you. What's your name? And do you live around here? Oh, cool. And light conversation. And there's a certain chemistry and there's a certain organic, natural way that unfolds. And your relationships that you're cultivating in your business are very much the same way and want to follow a very natural path of unfoldment where nothing is rushed, nothing is pushed, nothing is seemed as overstepping any boundaries. And instead it's like, hey, you want to go get some coffee? I'd like to hear more about that. I'd like to hear more about where you're from. And
right, whereas most people are going for some sort of proposal right away. And so like if it's a massage therapist, it's before you've ever educated me on why, I might even be interested in massage, or why, if I know I'm interested in massage already, and that's different levels of people's interests, which we'll, talk about Dharmic Business School, how to engage them at different levels. But you never educated me on anything in regards to just like, here's a coupon for a massage, and that's okay. It might work to a certain extent, but it's not going to be nearly as powerful as if you do it in this way, because where a lot of people, another major fear that people have in their business that takes them out is they feel like they're selling. And I guess you're selling, but what you really ought to be doing, and the way to and this is key, the way to get around that or over that or through that fear is start educating. Stop selling, start educating people on what you're an expert at or what you have specialization in, because that's the secret of prosperity, specialization. That's why element number 1 is concentrating your life force, because that's what happens when you're a specialist, when you specialize in something. And so like Joshua was saying, that most people out there are going like, hey, there's like the sleazy guy at the bar that goes right up to the woman and asks him to come over to his place for the night. Like, well, that's an extreme example, but a lot of the most, obnoxious of, marketing does that. And that's why in general, like the word marketing, we try not to use too much because it's a trigger word for so many people in this realm. And although what it really is, and it's at its best and in its essence, is it's magnetization and communication and effective communication. And if you're going to be effective in your marketing, you have to be effective in your communication. And to be effective in your communication, as Josh eloquently put, you need to be authentic and real. And so I think a lot of people have the aversion to selling, because we may have a subconscious belief that in order to do that, I can't be authentic and real. Actually, it's quite the opposite. The key for it working is for you to be authentic and real. And if you're not doing that, then you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be consistently successful. You can fool some people probably initially, but you're not going to fool people long term, and you're certainly not going to create a vital business organism without good vitality. And that's really what the uniqueness of Dharmic Business School is, and that's why we want you to be a part of it. And this is something we created. We put a lot of our heart into it, a lot of our experiences into it, and we would have reservations like, what, should we really share this with folks? It's very powerful stuff. And the answer, of course, after the initial kind of like, whoa, was yes, we should. Because as I mentioned at the very beginning of this, is that this is something that we want, and you may have heard me if you took our workshop series, is that we want the people who are conscious of what they're doing and that are really working to truly serve people in the world. And their primary motivation isn't just affluence, monetarily speaking, but something more substantive than that. And affluence may come as well, and more power to you. But we want people of great character and great consciousness to be successful at business and successful in life. And that's why we created this. And we want to invite you to join in, because the registration is open for Dharmic Business School right now. But it is closing soon, registration. And for those of you who have been a part of this, we want to offer it to you, part of this webcast, and we want to offer you a special deal to come into it now as we're launching it, and be a part of it and go through it. It's set up in 8 modules, and each module is designed to be taken over, like you take module 1 on week 1, module 2 on week 2, and so forth and so on. But even if you can't keep up at that pace, if you join Dharmic Business School, you have lifetime access to it. So even if you can't begin right away, if you get the course now, it's a home course. You can take it from anywhere in the world. All you need is an internet connection, and we set it up to where you can also download everything, so you don't have to rely on your internet connection. It's providing both video and audio, so if you're home and you're watching it, taking notes, great. But also, if you want to revisit the modules in your car or while you're on a hike or walking your dog, you can listen to it. And we really recommend that you listen to it multiple times, because you're not going to metabolize everything the first time going through this. You might understand everything, but metabolizing it and then implementing it is different. And so we recommend you spend, an 8-week period, 1 module at a time, so you can really implement it in a way that's going to be stabilizing.
And so module 1 and module 2, it's starting with the deeper psychology, and then it starts to pivot in the next few modules over into the marketing system. First, how do you develop your business organization? How much energy in your organism should be designated to the production of the product or the service? How much should be into the administration and how much to the marketing? I'll give you a hint. People don't put nearly enough energy into the marketing. They put a tremendous amount of energy into the product or a service, and they don't put nearly enough energy into the marketing. And that's why a huge part, the majority of this course, not all of it, but probably the biggest part of this course is on Dharmic business marketing. Because that's where you're going to generate energy from. You can have the most beautiful, perfect product or service, but if you don't have great marketing, you're not going to get it to people. And so then it goes into that, and then we teach you various ways, no matter what your business is and no matter what stage of your business is, how do you build a great business organism, the culture inside of it, and then how do you run energy through it? And then once you have energy running through it in the form of customers, revenue, what do you do with it? And then how do you amplify it?
Each module comes with a series of anchor questions that are specifically designed to work with the teachings of that module, and you work with the questions, you fill out your own answers to the questions that are posed, and then the answers to those questions end up becoming the foundation of your marketing message that you're ultimately going to develop throughout the course. Now, the course also comes with tactical videos that, as we get deeper into the course and into the more hands-on nuts and bolts, how do you do this stuff, we have tactical videos that are done in a screen sharing sort of way where you're able to watch a little bit of it, push pause, go over it, do that part of it on your own business, come back to the screen. And that's literally how we got started doing any of this stuff. We got started around this table with these laptops, looking stuff up, how to do it, pushing play, learning a little bit, coming over here, implementing that part of it. And so that's something that worked really well for us in building the Life Force Academy to this point where we have thousands of members in over 60 countries. And we find that to be a really great way to learn. And so that's how we structured the course, is exactly the same pathway that we took to get to where we are today.
The course is set up, and the main pillars are, you have, as we've been describing, the inner game stuff, the psychology, which is crucial. And then you have the philosophy around the business, also crucial. And then you have the tactical, how do you actually implement all of that? And those three are all important. You have to have the right psychology, you have to have the right know-how and the deeper context around it, because if you don't have big context and deep context, your conviction's not going to be strong enough. Adversity will take a person out if their conviction isn't strong enough, and conviction comes from depth of context, the big, deeper reasons why you're doing this in the first place. And that's how you can actually go from where you're really struggling in life and really struggling to make ends meet, and you make a couple shifts, and all of a sudden you're starting to generate energy in your life for yourself, for your family. That takes a lot of pressure off. And that's what Dharmic Business School is for. It's a powerful kind of machine, or it teaches you how to build your own machine, really. It's a school that teaches you how to build a powerful magnetism machine for your Dharmic energy, for the energy of your business. And we really want you to join in. And the normal price for the course is $2,400 to join, which in and of itself I think is a really good deal for what you're going to get to learn. This is a course on how do you build a business and how do you generate money through that business. And you know, obviously we can't make any promises and we can't make any guarantees in that sense. Because it'll be up to you to learn it and then to implement it. But if you do, I'm very confident you'll have no problem in making up for that, plus much, much more.
However, because you're part of this webcast experience, or for those of you who did our free workshop series, we've made a really special offer that we think will make it pretty irresistible, and that's the effect we want, is to feel irresistible. Like I would be dumb not to jump in. If you have a business or want to launch your business, we wanted to give you an offer that we felt like you would have a hard time turning down. We really want you to be a part of this.
So if you get the course now, it's only $1,195, $1,195 to get the course, and again, that gives you lifetime access, all 8 modules. And however, if you don't have the wherewithal to do $1,195 right now, there's a payment plan, and the payment plan is 3 installments of $467. So you'd pay $467 now, you get immediate access, and then in 30 days later, another $467, and then a 3rd installment. And that we hope will make it, we know will make it easier for a lot more people to join in. And then you can start taking it right away. Now, and we do this with all our stuff, if you get this course, and then for any reason whatsoever decide that this isn't for me, doesn't work for me, you email our team and let us know within 60 days of getting the course, they'll send you a full refund. And so we do guarantee that. So we guarantee our stuff like that always within 60 days of getting the course, and we trust you. We trust that you won't love this thing, get amazing information out of it, and then email our team. If you do that, that's your own karma. But we always guarantee in that regard. If you get it and then you genuinely feel like, yeah, this I don't really want this didn't work for me at all, we'll give you a full refund. If you get in there and you love it, which I think you will, this could be something game-changing. I know it'll be game-changing for a lot of people.
Something you said when we were filming it, and something that I too have felt in reviewing the course and building it on our website, is just for you or I to go back and actually take our own course that we made. We ourselves, even knowing all this stuff and teaching the course, just in the act of going into student mode and sitting and taking our own course, would be able to extract far more value out of it than the price of the course. There'd be things in there that we would learn from ourselves just by taking the course.
By just spending the time and energy with your mind focused on it is totally valuable in and of itself. But you're going to learn all sorts of stuff. You're going to learn as marketing systems. Joshua's going to teach you how to create Facebook advertising, and that'll be one of your vehicles to get it out there. Social media advertising, Instagram advertising, all of that. Also, if you get the course, there's 2 bonuses that you'll get as that are exclusive only to members of Dharmic Business School. And one is a business leadership class that I teach on actually working with your employees, developing really elevated business culture within your business. And whether you have employees yet or not, is crucial. And then Josh, you're teaching one.
I'm teaching a bonus. It's on, it's called Email Wizardry, and it's taking your existing audience, or if you don't have an email list yet, it's ways to grow your email list really quickly, and it's also creative ways when you have a list to leverage it outside of the inbox. So ways that you can use your email list beyond just sending emails. Sending emails is great. They never all get opened by everybody, but there are ways that you can use that list to reach people beyond the inbox in ways where far more people see them than they would otherwise just looking in their
because in Dharmic Business School, you're going to learn really cool and effective and easy creative ways to generate your audience and email lists and social media followings, all that stuff, using the systems that are in line with what we taught you in this webcast, but they just go much deeper, and because we just much more time and much more detail. And then in this, Josh is going to teach you then some extra kind of special tricks that we've learned over the years that are tricks, I say. They're just smart ways where you're not selling anybody's email. You're maintaining complete privacy. It's nothing like that, but ways on how do you leverage all this work to generate this energy in the form of like the ability to contact potential customers, which we consider valuable and even a sacred thing that we respect and value quite a bit. So we would never, there's no like shady practice in this in Dharmic Business School. And so then in addition to all of those bonuses, the 8 modules, the 2 bonuses, there's question and answer sessions Joshua and I will be doing as you're going through the course. So as you're taking the module, you'll be able to submit your questions in, and then we'll do some question and answer sessions where we'll get on and we'll take your questions and we'll answer them, and then everybody will get to hear that. And so that's, I think, really valuable too. We never done that anytime for business stuff ever. And so this is the first time we're ever doing that, and we want to work with smart people with smart businesses or people who want to have a smart business, and we're excited to get started. So to join, you just click the button on the web page here. Super easy. Just takes a moment to check out. You don't have to be technologically savvy to do this. It's really easy, and we have a great support team. If you have any questions, they'll walk you through whatever you need. It just takes a moment to register, to check out. But again, registration's closing very soon. And when it closes, also the offer that we've given to you for being a part of all of this, also that will expire. So we want to motivate you to get in and to not procrastinate and to do this. And so we'd love to have you a part of this, and we'd love to work with you. So go ahead and click the button and to join in. That'll take you to the checkout page. Just takes a moment. And if for whatever reason you're unable to join us for Dharmic Business School, we hope that this experience today in this webcast with the 8 elements of Dharmic Business Magnetism was helpful, that you took some gems out of that will help you in your business, and that it will help others via you. And so I want to thank you all very much for being a part of it, for attending, for opening your minds, hearts, and offering your time, spending a significant amount of your day with us. We're very grateful for that, and grateful for the opportunity to hang with you in this way.
Let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you thought about the webcast. You'll see the replay will be available, and we'd love to hear what you think.
Right on. Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day.